what happened was Vaush didn't do so well in the debate. And from the get-go, when someone challenges him in a strong way, he just he becomes very meek. So if you watch Vaush in many of the debates he has, he wants to be overbearing and things like that. And oftentimes he's able to do so because he's on a panel where the moderator is going to let him do that, or most of the people agree with his position or something like that. And that's usually what happens on these panels. I get ganged up on, even if it's 4-on-4 or 3-on-3. Usually the most boisterous voices are those that disagree with me. And so it ends up like me arguing against 4 or 5 people. I'm tired of these panels. I think that they're worthless. I'll still do them, but I'm not going to allow people to kind of talk about issues in a vacuum, especially when I know what their stance are on other issues and how that conflicts with what they're saying. So, for example, in the abortion debate, I'm not going to listen to people that I know are for vaccine passports, then make the my body, my choice argument when it comes to abortion. It's hypocritical. It doesn't fit in with the worldview, and I'm going to bring that up. What you see is a lot of coping from Vaush supporters and people that were watching the video because they're like, oh, why is he going after Vaush? Why is he talking about these other issues? I didn't think it was overly rude. I definitely have a sharp tone, but I didn't think I was rude. I wasn't bringing up personal things or anything like that. I was talking about, the worldview that these people have. And I talk about this all the time. What you see is people on the left, they want you to ignore their double standards, right? So they're like, oh, in this debate, we shouldn't be talking. Don't bring in your personal baggage. It's not personal baggage. It's talking about someone's position. He didn't deny that that was his position. I think that that's fair game. Anyways, Vaush didn't look good. From the get-go, anytime I cornered him or he didn't have something to say, he would just mute himself and go and like do this little laugh, talk to his little audience. I'm sure he was frantically Google searching and talking to his thousands of people watching, hoping that they could get some sort of response. But he just wasn't able to come up with it. So he didn't do so well, especially on the Afghanistan topic. Bragging about big balls Biden. Here's supposedly a non-interventionist leftist, who's all for intervention in Syria and is bragging about Biden. Oh, big balls Biden. Yeah, the same big balls guy that bombed a bunch of children because he screwed up so bad that he let ISIS out of prisons, which then killed U.S. troops. And then he had to look like a tough guy, so he claimed he bombed ISIS, but it was really children. That big balls Biden. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. And then we went through what his deflection and excuses for Biden. He had nothing to say. He didn't. And so the result was coping. A lot of people on the panel want to take Vaush's side, and we don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about solutions. Let's not talk about who's to blame. It's what it is. It's coping. Oh, Rob's mean. Rob's just an angry person. He's bringing up these things that, he's just bringing them up, and that's just mean. Vaush fans saying that, who celebrate if he's, going after someone. And again, although I may have been, I would think it's fair to say I was a little rude or I was pointed. It wasn't like some of the stuff people say on some of these panels, including Vaush that I've heard him say, are heinous, calling people Nazis and stuff like that. So, I mean, whatever. It's just funny to see, please be nice. Please, So that was sort of the tone that was going on. And I didn't mind. The people that were on the right in the panel were fine. Maybe they didn't speak up as much because I was speaking up so much. That could be. I don't know. But I didn't mind that it basically turned into 3 or 4 on 1. Don't bother me. I don't think the 3 or 4 did that well. And he had the classic stuff. Vaush, repugnantly saying he would be for elective abortions up to 9 months. And then claiming, I didn't say that. We need to focus on what to do in the future, Rob. Stop trying to cast blame. How is it focusing on the future to say that we should stop invading these countries? And then when another speaker, Carr, says, we should do 2 things. The first thing is stop invading countries. They're all like nodding their head like, yeah, that's a good idea. We got you. Rob said it, so it must be bad. Says the left-wing anti-war interventionist that are making excuse that celebrated the intel agencies for 4 years when they went after Trump. But now they're like, oh, yeah. So that's what but we'll get to, so how did Vaush fans cope at the end? What was the big cope? They have very little to say about the debate performance other than the classic, Rob doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking. Vaush answered everything and Rob just didn't know what he was talking. Yeah, that stupid stuff. You can watch the debate and decide for yourself. I think it's quite evident. But there was questions that were asked. James, the moderator. By the way, I thought it was funny. Vita asked a question. If on Modern Day Debates, if you super chatted, you get to ask a question. Vita was the only person I knew that asked a question, and I only know this because he brought it up in the chat. He asked, his super chat question was like, when are you going to debate Rob one-on-one? People have reached out to you. Why won't you do it? For some reason, that was the only question. James didn't read the full question. He just said, when are you going to debate Rob? And Vaush said, I am now. So, okay, that's fine. But the last question was a question about a general by the name of General Aldin and what his plans would be for whether or not they could have saved lives in withdrawing in the way that it happened. And so what I want to do is just play the full clip. We'll play the full section out. And then we'll explain what was going on. But I'll leave it play in its entirety first so people could make up their own mind of what's going on. So let's bring this up. Okay. Here we go.
D says, Rob, regarding your withdrawal from Afghanistan, do you believe that General Aldin's plan could have reduced loss of life?
Yeah, it could have, but I will be honest. When it comes to the actual specifics, it doesn't. I love the apologism for Biden. Again, I remind you that my biggest criticism becomes to the propagandist and all of the regimes and all of the parties, including
Intel
Republicans
agencies.
and Democrats, that
Rob,
lied
you
to
have
us.
a response that isn't just repeating the same thing.
Yeah, if you'd let me finish, maybe I'll get to it. So that's the biggest criticism I have with those institutions.
maybe.
Those
blame you for
institutions.
this, Vaush.
Is this
This
good?
is your fault, Vaush.
This is good? This is the answer y'all wanted?
No, Rob.
Would you like me to finish my answer? So I remind you, that's the first organizations that I would blame. But I would say this.
A pithy response.
Okay, so the answer is that the apologism for Biden says things like, well, we don't know what he could have done better. It is quite simple, and I don't know who exactly the generals would have been under Trump that had this plan, but it is quite simple that we shouldn't have let go of Bagram Air Base until we got our assets, including people and military assets and the prisoners that we didn't want to escape gone. That's common sense. Everyone understands it.
So the question was, what do you think General Aldin's plan would have saved lives? I didn't hear a mention of the details of that plan and how it would have saved lives or not. So I asked when you were going to answer the question instead of ranting on the same thing you have been, and you said you would, and you didn't. So could you answer the question?
Sure. Why don't you explain to me exactly what General Aldin's plan was? How many pages was this plan?
I don't know what his plan
Right,
was.
which is exactly why my answer was.
Stop with the memes.
Which is exactly, real quick, which is exactly why I said I don't know what his specific details of his plan was, but it's quite simple that if we had a plan to leave Bagram Air Base, it would have been a disaster.
I'm not making claims what his plan was.
Cool.
Okay.
If you didn't know the details, that's fine.
Next up. Okay.
Jesus.
Forgive me for interrupting. So sorry. I did promise to get you all.
Okay, that was it. Let me get back to the beginning. So I remind you, that's the first organizations that I would blame. We'll go back to it here in a minute, too. Argument that you and Vaush are making that's, so I remind you, that's the first organizations that I would blame. But I would say this.
A pithy response.
It doesn't, I love the apologism for Biden. Again, I remind you that I agreeing in the position, and I'm addressing both of you.
I don't even know what his position is. I don't know.
I don't doubt that you don't, to be honest.
I don't. I honestly don't. I don't watch his content, dude.
We do have.
Okay. Now, let's go. So, I didn't know who General Aldin was. General Aldin is apparently a meme that was made up by Vaush and Vaush fans. Now, the Vaush NPCs, they eat up anything that he does like this. And so what they were doing, it's like the coconut thing. It's a made-up person. And so the question they were asking me is, haha, we have this inside joke. General Aldin, this person doesn't exist. Would his plan have saved lives? And I said it could have. And Rob fell for the General Aldin meme. No, I didn't. Because you could see that I'm interrupted immediately. I assumed that General Aldin was a general I didn't know that was under the previous regime. So I will admit that I did make a mistake, and the mistake that I made was assuming that questioners were asking questions in good faith. And so I thought someone was saying, General Aldin, who was some general I didn't know that was maybe under Trump, would his plan have saved lives? And I said it could have. I didn't know. And I admitted that I didn't know the details of the plan, and I didn't know who these generals were. But I said that instead of deflecting, we should see that any plan that would have not closed down Bagram would have been able to save lives. To them, this is this big victory. That's it. Oh man, it's hilarious. So there's, someone created a General Aldin Twitter feed, and, I guess on Vaush's Reddit, people were saying, a lot of people were talking about this, and I fell for this meme. Falling for the meme would have been like, yeah, General Aldin was on point. Yep. General Aldin, yeah, his plan was great. But I didn't say that. So I could explain what I was trying to do. Notice the way that it works is because everyone's trying to interrupt me and not letting me finish my point. They then get to claim that like it's some sort of victory. This is what I was going to say. As I've said in my channel many times, that there are two things. Yes, we could focus on the specific details of Biden's withdrawal and how it was a disaster, but we should also focus on how we were lied to by the generals and the intel agencies for 20 years. So I actually was kind of throwing a bone to the people that were kind of sort of defending Biden was what my answer was going to be. It was going to be a twofold answer. The first was, remember, these intel agencies and generals lied to us. So I don't think necessarily going back and looking at the generals under Trump and saying, they would have done great is the best thing to do. Because they lied to us too. That's what I was trying to say before I was interrupted. In other words, I assumed that the person asking the question was a person that was trying to defend Trump's administration and was saying, the generals under Trump, I thought that this was one of the generals under Trump. And I even admit that. I'm like, I don't know who these generals were under Trump. But I assumed that that's who it was. Yeah, I'm not saying it's Trump's fault that these generals lied, but that's what I'm saying. Going back and saying, the generals under Trump, Mattis would have done better, or this person would have done better. I don't think so. Well, they may have, but they also deserve criticism and not praise because they were lying to us about Afghanistan as well, and about Syria and other things. So that's what my answer, that was going to be the first answer. And then the second point was, and look, instead of, I'm not a foreign policy expert, so I don't know every single general or every single foreign policy expert's plan on the withdrawal. I don't know. But what I do know is this. Any plan that would have kept Bagram Air Base open would have saved lives. That would have been a better plan. That's it. That's what my answer was. And they are like, you fell for it. He's not even a real person. Well, yeah, I didn't know that. I will admit that it is my fault for assuming that he was a real person. For saying, this is a general I didn't know under Trump. I admit that I guess. We made up a fake person and you didn't immediately call him out as fake. I guess that's what they're going. I've heard people say, River killed the doctor, that Aldin is a rhetorical strategy to get someone to walk into a trap of saying they know something they don't know. Right, and I didn't do that. I didn't say... In Vaush's defense, Vaush didn't ask the question. It was one of his supporters, I assume. But I didn't say, I know Aldin's plan. Right? Again, I will admit to being a little wordy, but my answer was literally going to be, I don't know this general, all the generals, and I don't know the specifics of their plan, but any plan would have been better that kept the base open. That was it. That was my answer. In addition to saying, and we shouldn't praise these generals as well. And they think, now the way this meme would work is if I would have been like, General Aldin had it right. When he was under Trump, he absolutely had it right. His plan was fantastic. Yep, Biden should have trusted General Aldin. Then you could be like, Rob's talking out his ass. But that's not what happened. That's not what happened at all. And people were like, yeah, but you said his plan could have saved lives. It could have, because any plan could have saved lives. But I don't know the specific details of any of these plans. All I know is common sense dictates that if you have non-military people and military people that you want out of a country, that you bring back the non-military people first. That way the military people could defend them as they leave. That's it. And saying, well, that's not answering the specific question. Of course it is. Absolutely it is. Now, that's what you can even see. My video's up on YouTube. You can see in the comments, there's even Vaush fans in there that are like, this is the only thing people will remember about the debate. Rob fell for the General Aldin thing. Well, yes, that's what the Vaush coping fans will want. He looked terrible the whole debate. He got blown out of the water. And so they're going to hang their hat on, look, this is the only thing that matters. Ha ha, we could laugh. And that's what it'll be. And they have every right. I would want to laugh too and make it about comedy too, because it was quite laughable, Vaush's performance in that debate. So if you could make it about a meme to deflect for how bad he looked in the debate and how he didn't have any sort of coherent argument that could stand up to the challenges that I was making about what he was saying, then yeah, you would want to make it about this meme as well. And so what I want to do is we'll just go through, because I think that, and I was kind of defending, I actually do think it's kind of funny. I don't mind that. But there was, of course, Vaush has a lot more fans than me, which is cool too. I don't care. And most of them are just childish and stupid. And so they're going to lob on to this and be like, oh, man, this somehow proves that Rob's a bullshitter. And the best they could do was saying, it proves that I don't listen to the question, that I just have a dialogue tree. Well, no, I'm answering the specific question. I'm just being honest with, I don't know people's specific plans or whatever, but we still should blame the intel agencies, and we should also, any plan that would have closed Bagram Air Base was a bad plan. This is supposedly me not listening. How is this? That's it? That's your big win? That proves I didn't listen to the question? Hell, a better example of me not hearing the question was they said something about my favorite words were what's my favorite word other than intel agency? I heard the question wrong and thought they said Rob's favorite words are intel agency. And I was like, oh, and your favorite words are blah, blah, blah. And they're like, you didn't answer the question. That was a better example of I didn't hear the question. I heard the question fine here. I was just answering saying, look, I don't know the specifics of this guy or this plan, but Biden's plan was horrible. And so, yeah, it is quite possible that any other person's plan could have saved lives. That's it. And so they're super excited, though. So this is a big victory for them. So we'll go to the window. So here you can see, fucking got him, LMO. Almost 2,400 likes. Good for them. Good for that guy. And then they clip another section. And then this is what I want you to read, is an exchange I have with an apparent Vaush fan. So you can see how this goes, right? They said, I really do love how Aldin's number meme because it's able to illustrate clearly when the interlocutor isn't listening or engaging with the conversation. Something they really don't give a fuck what you're saying. No, I was listening. It doesn't prove that at all. I said, right. I said, I don't know what his plan is, but common sense would have been not to close the base. I love the left excusing Biden's failure by using irrelevant memes because they can't defend him. Now, this person, Wiz, is who I want to focus on here. Wiz says, how could you say it could have saved lives without even knowing what the plan was? So I give another example. I say, could Biden's plan saved lives from COVID if he was in charge in 2020? And here would be a hypothetical answer. Maybe. I'm not sure what his specific plan would have been, but if it included more money for developing tests, it would have. See how that works? And does everyone see that? Now, you don't have to know. Let's take let's say Pickett's charge in the Civil War, if we were talking about that. And you said, but would General Smith's plan, could it have been better? And you say, maybe. I don't know who General Smith was or what his plan was. Or let me rephrase. Could General Smith's lives have saved lives? It could have saved lives. I don't know the details of his specific plan. But if it would have involved not charging across an open field, then yeah, it could have saved lives. Oh, I made General Smith up. Okay. I don't have to know if General Smith's a real person or not, the details of his plan, to know that any plan that would have done what I'm about to say could have saved lives. That's it. That's simple. And we've heard this literally dozens of people, probably I've heard, and probably many, many Vaush supporters, and probably Vaush himself have said, if so-and-so was president, they would have handled COVID better. Really, what was their specific plan? Oh, you don't have the specifics. You're just criticizing Trump's plan. You're saying Trump was so bad that someone else would have done better. But you don't know what the specifics of their plan was. And so if I would have said, do you think that Undersecretary of Biden, Hansen, that his health plan would have been better on COVID? You could say it could have been. I don't know what his plan was. Oh, I made that guy up. It's like, what? So, again, the meme makes sense if I would have been like, oh, yeah, I know General Aldin. Yeah, he had a good plan. I admit that I didn't know what his plan was. Anyways, let's continue with this thread here. He says, you can't know his plan could have saved lives. For all you know, it could not have. Unless you know what the plan is, you cannot conclude it could save lives. Consequently, Aldin's plan does not exist. So contrary to what you said, Aldin's plan could not save lives. I say it could have saved lives also means it might not have. You Vaush fans are persistent in the pathetic cope, though. I didn't know the man or his plan, as I admitted, but said it could have been better if it didn't shut down Bagram. And then this person says, it would have been especially wise to answer the question with, who is Aldin and what is his plan, before suggesting it could have saved lives. And I say, I agree, when dealing with bad faith Vaush and his NPCs, I shouldn't assume that they're talking about real people and not memeing. But I did the next best thing. I admitted I didn't know the details of the plan, but discussed how it could have been better. And then he replies, how do you know it could have been better if you don't even know what it is that could be improved in the first place? For all you know, it was the best plan ever created. You can't suggest something needs improving if you don't even know the details of the thing. I say, I did know what needed improving, Biden's plan. So other plans could very well have been better, which is exactly what I said. I admitted to not knowing the details of the plan, but outlined what it would have had to do better than Biden's. And then this person says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to admit that, while irresponsible and awkward, you are 100% technically correct in what you said. To which I finished with, and I admit that your suggestion of me immediately saying I don't know who Aldin was would have been better. But it's not this huge victory that Vaush fans think it is. That's it. So even a Vaush fan, when you talk them through it, can understand, oh, yeah. Now, again, I get you, Terry, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because the massive amounts of cope. Do you see how this works? When someone they support wants to be aggressive and go after people and things like that and talk about how their positions don't match up with other positions they have, they're all for it. When I do it to Vaush, they're like, oh, please leave the little baby alone, please. Rob's dominating the conversation, please, please. Right? I'm not saying Vaush is doing that, but many of his fans, that's what you see. When he gets blown out of the water, they're like, oh, let's just make it a joke. It's just a joke. It's a meme. Rob didn't know. Rob doesn't watch every Vaush video to know that this was a meme. He assumed when someone mentioned a general that it was a real person. Okay. That's it. That's their victory. It's all about deflecting from the fact that they're literally defending a guy that allowed ISIS to be freed, that then killed our troops, and then Biden then went out and bombed, which we're now getting the video, innocent people that helped the United States, including children, and lied and said it was ISIS. That's who they're defending. They can't defend it, so they have to make memes. That's what they're doing. That's what's going on. Okay? So, yes, I will fully admit, the best thing I should have done was say, right out of the gate, I don't know who that person is or what his plan is, but it could be benefit. It could have worked if you could tell by what I'm saying, because I actually say, I don't know who Trump's generals were. That's what I thought it was. I thought it was a general under Trump. That's it. And I'm wrong about that. It was not a general under Trump. So that's the big meme that apparently, oh my God, Rob's an idiot. He fell for this. It's like, I don't think it's the big win. It just shows how childish and dumb they are, and the fact that they all want to glom on and focus on that. Someone even said, that's the only thing we'll remember. Of course, you won't remember your daddy Vaush getting crushed in the debate. So I'm sorry. Wait, hold on a second here. Wait. My producers, oh wait, I forgot to put my headphones on for this. I'm sorry. What's that? Hold on here. Hold on. Whoa, you guys aren't going to believe this. You guys aren't going to believe this. My producers just told me that we actually have someone on the line. Wait, am I hearing this correct? We have on the line the actual General Aldin? He's a real person? Really? Oh my goodness. I can't believe it. All right. I guess we'll take this call. I was under the impression that this was someone that Vaush made up, but apparently this is a real person. This is a real general. All right. Let's take the call here. Hello, sir. Hello. Can you hear me? General Aldin, are you there? Yes, this is General Aldin. I'm here. Thanks very much for taking my call, Rob Noerr, on this September 11th, where we could focus on white rage. Thank you very much for taking the call. It's very important to focus on white rage today on September 11th. Wow, General Aldin, I'm shocked. I had no idea. I didn't know that you were a real person. I thought that I fell for this meme. No, I'm a very undercover general. I only deal with Vaush and grifters like him that pretend to be socialists while raking in money from their rube fans that pay them tons of money and claim to support poor people and socialists. But yes, I'm directly in contact with Vaush and other grifters like him that become incredibly wealthy as they're advocating for socialism. Oh, well, that's amazing. So Vaush did have some insight into some of the generals. And so that's what he was talking about when he was talking about this. Absolutely. We, along with Vaush and many of these other leftists, we understand the real problem. It's not 9/11. It's not terrorists. It's not ISIS. It's blue-haired grandmas that were in the Capitol January 6th. It's white rage. We're going to be reading some more Robin DiAngelo books as we sit around in our drum circles coming up. So it should be a lot of fun. Well, thank you. I guess that's interesting. Thank you so much for calling in, though. I felt like, the joke was that people were saying you didn't exist. But now that I know that you exist, it kind of changes the calculus a little. Yes, I understand, Rob. People think that I'm fake, like the pronouns and all of their, and all of their titles. But just like the infinite number of genders that they make up, that they're saying that people like me are fake, it's actually not true. It's not true. I'm not fake like those infinite genders. And I just want to remind everyone that us generals in the intel community and in the military, we're woke now. So we can assure you, when we're bombing those brown people that were our allies and their kids, we did so with rainbow bombs, and we made sure that our pronouns were on those bombs as we were bombing them. So I'm sure Vaush and all them could continue to brag about big balls Biden as they talk about that. That is a good point. I did notice that most of the people that were bragging about this meme, I noticed that most of them are the type of people that, are bragging about their pronouns or something in their profile. And, sometimes those people are the most toxic people. Yes, we understand, General Aldin and the rest of these generals like Miley, we understand when dealing with white rage that we need to use the most toxic people available, and most of those are people that want to weaponize their gender and their pronouns, and they do this because they don't have an identity or anything about them that's interesting, and so they have to talk about their pronouns because they think it makes them unique people, but really, we understand, it just makes them pliable rubes that will do anything that we in the intel agency say. It's very interesting. So, now that I have you here, I got to ask, I really didn't know the details of your plan. So could you tell me, General Aldin, the question that was asked to me was, were the details of your plan, could it have saved lives? So what exactly were the details of your plan? I guess now we could find out if they would have saved lives. Yes, the details of our plan were that we wanted to send more money for gender studies programs. This is where Biden went wrong. He didn't understand that the real problem is white rage. So as he was trying to withdraw when he closed Bagram Air Base, instead of closing Bagram Air Base in the way that he did, what he should have did was send several copies of Robin DiAngelo and Ibram Kendi's books over to ISIS and the Taliban. This would have ensured that they were peaceful people that would have been more focused on their pronouns and getting women involved in politics and flying LGBTQ flags and things like that. And so actually, I think that it is proven by focusing more on these pronouns that we would have been able to actually save lives. I don't know that actually would have worked. I think maybe some of this undue influence on or focus on talking about pronouns and stuff and white rage. I mean, maybe y'all should have been focused more on your job over there. Well, you have to understand, Rob, you're not our target audience. Our target audience are intelligent people like Vaush, people that want to question things like, is everything socially constructed, and should age of consent laws be what they currently are, and blame capitalism on everything as they rake in the dough. We also engage in hypocrisy and double standards like that, where we claim that we're woke and do all these things, and we're focused on bad people, but in reality, we're just nation builders, just like the neocons under Bush were. It's all really the same thing. But what you really need to know is the number one key to doing that is to placate these rubes that talk about their pronouns by sending these books and, talking about white rage and things like that. All of a sudden, the very people that were most against this interventionism will celebrate it. And they'll talk about Biden's big balls and things like that. And I got to say, this has been it's been shocking that you came on my show. I kind of feel bad for all those people that thought you were real. I'm sorry, that thought you were fake, and it turns out that you're actually real. Is there anything that you want to say before I let you go here? Because I got to get on with the show. Yeah, I just want to say, Rob, that you're bad, that you were too mean, you were too aggressive to Vaush, and, you shouldn't hold him to account for the things he says. And remember, the most important thing is to be ashamed of you seem very upset, you seem like that you maybe have some white rage. So just remember, if we're going to win these wars in the future, it's okay to bomb people, it's okay to invade countries and have nation building like we're doing in Syria, as long as you talk about white rage and things like that. So thank you to all my supporters that, that watch Vaush, my man Vaush, the socialist with all this money, hypocrite that, can't win a one-on-one debate and, they have to meme to deflect from the fact of how much he got crushed. Thank you to all my fans out there, and I look forward to people celebrating this call that I had with all their pronouns in their name. So thank you very much. All right, what a big gift for us. So thank you so much, General Aldin. Thank you so much for calling in. What a great call. Wow. I didn't expect that at all. That was, I'm shocked. I'm shocked that he actually called in. So, it's weird. It's weird. All of these people that were saying that I fell for something because General Aldin doesn't exist. Here he existed. They were wrong. It's very interesting. So, props to everyone with the pronouns in their bio. Good work. Good work.